Hi there. The house is quiet, so I figured I'd do this now on a Wednesday morning. Afternoon. Hold on, what time is it? Okay, afternoon. It's officially almost 1. So I'm doing this on a Wednesday afternoon. Now, I've been wanting to do this one for a while. Just first of all, if you're new here, welcome. This is the Chronic Noob. I am the host, Naomi Ahlstrom, and I started this because I don't like this. I don't ever want to catch myself thinking that I know more than anyone else in the room, because chances are I don't. I might know different information than other people in the room, but I am on a conscious quest to constantly prove myself wrong. And in that, hopefully I can learn more. So in essence, I'm a chronic noob. I like to assume that I don't know as much as I'd like to think that I know. So I'm going to blab about perspective, my perspective on things, and hopefully it sheds light and gives other people new perspectives and new ways to think about things. The topic today, first of all, we forgot the weekly laugh, your weekly dose of laughter. Cooper, you want to help out with that? No? Okay, that's my dog. He just gave me a look. He's very cute though. So here with your weekly dose of laughter is yours truly. I wanted it to do a thing where I actually laughed for a minute straight or something, and I just don't know if I can do that. I'd like to lean into it. If anyone has an idea of how I can do that, I'd love to hear it. I just don't think I have it in me to do that. So there's a little giggle or something, like I'm trying to be proper, hiding a secret or something. I don't know. Anyway, the topic today is hold on, I gotta make sure my mic is set right. Hopefully it's the right mic picking this up. Yeah, sorry. I had to tap the mic. I'm so sorry I had to do that. I didn't do quite a check before. So here's the situation. I wanted to talk about swearing, swear words, profanity. Tell me your thoughts on it. Whether you're on YouTube, drop it in the comments, email me, however you need to get in touch with me. I would love to hear it. But I'm going to share my perspective and let me know if this sits right with you, if it doesn't sit right with you. I'm not about to tell anyone how they should or shouldn't live their life, what they should or shouldn't think. I will absolutely be sharing my perspective on things, but this is perspective according to Naomi, not according to the next person or the next person. You know what I mean? This is just my perspective based off of my experiences, what I've learned and what feels right to me. And if I can speak something that feels truthful and feels right to somebody else, then great, I touched somebody. So here's my perspective on swear words. I don't believe in giving words more power than they deserve. And with that comes swearing. I personally think that cussing can be a really great way to season your language properly. You can give it a kick when you're talking. You can and obviously you don't want to overuse things. And I grew up in a very religious background, rigidly religious background, and in our household, swear words were never used unless they were being weaponized. I distinctly remember a moment when my dad had yelled at me and my mom was putting us to bed and I was on the bottom bunk. And now so you would open the door, and the way the door swung open, you immediately turn to the side and the bunk bed was right there, right? So you open the door and you had to turn to see the bed. So anyway, I was crying to my mom about how badly I was hurting. I was struggling with my dad having just yelled at me, and I was sitting on the bed, and my mom was being quiet. She wanted to make sure I felt heard. Um, but then my dad burst into the room, um, and he leaned down. I was on the bottom bunk. He leaned down, so he was eye level with me. He was red in the face, and he said, "Do you want me to come over there and slap the damn hell out of you?" Um, and in that moment, because kids don't separate violence, with like kids don't separate violent words with violent actions. And so in that moment, I thought my dad was going to kill me. I think I just froze, and then he chewed out my mom for not defending him and not shutting me up. Um, he just railed into her, and it turned into, because she was like, she tried to defend me after he said that, and then I don't remember exactly the exchange after that, but I remember it went from he said that to me, and the rest of the anger was directed at my mom for not stopping me from sharing my emotions, after having just been yelled at. So I was scared, not, and that wasn't my only experience with swear words. That just happens to be my, I think, my most remembered experience with swear words, being used at me, weaponized. That image, that's one of those like core memories where like you remember that image forever. You just have that forever. Um, and to me, it doesn't make sense how there's this one standard where we don't use those words because they're not good words. But on the other hand, if you're really angry, you can use them to threaten other people or to make other people feel less than you. I don't subscribe to that at all. I think I still am very religious, and I don't subscribe to the notion that organized religion is very healthy, right? Like it is very healthy. The purpose of organized religion is so people who believe similar things can worship together in that similar fashion. That's the whole purpose of it. But a lot of times, sometimes, I think sometimes people take organization, turn the template into a measuring stick, and hold that measuring stick against everybody and judge anybody who's not measuring up to the measuring stick of this template religion that they've created out of a beautiful organized religion. Which is why I think a lot of people get scared from organized religion. So I am still religious. I'm very religious. I still have the same faith that I grew up in. However, I believe that the only words that should have gravity, that should have power, are words of deity. I think those are the only words that should have gravity, that should have power when used. So I just don't subscribe to this. And I think with that, the whole template religion thing, the whole measuring stick stuff, I think a lot of that has to do with the way I feel about swear words. I think a lot of times people who would use swear words, it's like, they're not as good of a person because they're swearing. They're going to be making bad choices. They shouldn't be using those words. Whoa. Like, okay, I get there is a time and place for cussing. Like, I think I've dropped some F bombs in this podcast already. I think we're on chapter 7 now. Ooh, right? I don't know. I have no idea, actually. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. Anyway, so I believe in swearing. And as a matter of fact, my children, well, at least one of them, my older child, um, knows how to swear properly. If I can say that. Hopefully I don't get flack for that, but that's fine. Um, and how I've described it to him is he is not allowed to use those words. I think he may have unintentionally been shamed by his dad because he used the F bomb one time. He's like, "Where the fuck is mom?" And mm, I got I got I got yelled at for that one, but that's fine. Um, because how I describe it is those are grown up words. He's not allowed to use them, and he will get in trouble for using them because he is not those are for grown-ups. He can't drive a car. He knows that you use the steering wheel, but he's still not allowed to drive the car because he doesn't know how to properly use the steering wheel. He doesn't know how to signal to turn. He doesn't know how to properly, be aware of the traffic around him in regards to where he's driving. He doesn't know those things yet. And so until he has a driver's license, he will not be allowed to drive. Likewise, until he has graduated high school, till he is over 18 years old, he is not allowed to use those words because they are grown-up words. And after he's graduated high school, he's allowed to decide how he's going to use those words. But until then, those are grown-up words that he's not allowed to use. So that's how I describe it, because I'm not going to give them more power. I'm not going to just use them. It seems extremely hypocritical to say those words should not be used and then only use them in anger. That gives them power. That gives them a sharp edge. That gives them a bad look that they don't deserve, I guess. I don't think they deserve it. So I'm not necessarily using an F-bomb every other sentence. However, and sometimes I'll use the F-bomb, and sometimes I will use the word fork. Have you ever seen The Good Place? Because there's nothing like, what the actual fork? Like that, there's something funny about that, and sometimes it can just like diffuse a situation. Like if you don't want to take yourself, if you're frustrated but also don't want to be caught taking yourself too seriously, it's perfect for that. I cannot say MFing. I have to say furthermorking. I don't know why. That's just what I have to say. I have to say furthermorking or something like that. That being said, I don't necessarily think swear words are bad, and I do not believe in giving them more power than they deserve. However, I do believe there is a time and a place for them. I was talking to a dear friend of mine named Amy, and she and I were talking about this, and she actually called it seasoning too. She called it seasoning for her language too, and I was like, oh, we have the same mind. You know how like when you like meet somebody and they like have a similar perspective on like almost like a controversial topic, and it's like, oh my gosh, wow. How did you come to this? Like, whoa, how did you get here too? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how did you get to that perspective? What led you to that? So she and I were talking, and she said, would you wear your gardening clothes to church? Nope. Would you wear a nice, beautiful Sunday dress to garden? Nope. I mean, you could if you want. If you want to wear an outdoor, fine. I mean, be my guest, right? But like, you wouldn't feel like it's an appropriate thing to wear your gardening clothes to church. So that kind of brings about like maybe in professional settings don't use swear words as much, and maybe like have different tiers. Like damn and hell are going to be on different tiers than like shit. I feel like those are going to be on different levels, and then F-bombs are going to be on, and even if you're really casual, yeah, F-bombs. Like, and like I said, I've F-bombed here before. That's not that's not news. So there's a time and a place. If you're in the middle of a job interview, yeah, avoid using swear words. It's not as professional. And if you're going to be dealing with customers, you probably should not be using swear words because of the negative connotation, unfortunately, society has given them. Maybe don't be using swear words. But if you're afraid of what people will think about you, I highly, highly encourage you. And again, this is just perspective according to me. This is not like some kind of, I am encouraging, not bossing. Okay, this is just some encouragement. I encourage that if you are not swearing, if you avoid swear words, ask yourself why. Is it because you would judge yourself? Is it because other people would judge you? Is it because like why? What's your motivation? I think that's the thing that drives me to change the most is looking at behaviors that I do, habits that I have, and asking myself, why do I have those behaviors? Why do I have those habits? Why do I react that way? Why do I do that weird thing? And if it's a good why, I keep it. If it's a bad why, I don't. For instance, this is I mean, this might be TMI, and if it is, like, well, sorry, but not sorry also, because this should be common knowledge, but for me, it wasn't. Growing up, I was never taught how to properly care for my skin. I also have ADHD, and with that comes a constant need to fidget. Now, what that turned into is face picking, and I was always told growing up, like, my mom would always be like, "Oh, that one's ready, you need to pop that one," like, when it comes to acne. Now, it wasn't until I was 27 years old, I was at the doctor because my face kept reinfecting, and this is gonna be a beautiful image right here. Um, I went to him and I was diagnosed with a staph infection on my face, and I have pictures to show. I'm not gonna show them here. I'm not gonna show them here, so don't look for them on the YouTube channel. If you would like emails, sure, I will email you the pictures of me with a staph infection on my face. I took pictures so I could have befores and afters of, like, how terrible it was. It wasn't until I had that staph infection, that diagnosed staph infection, I was in that appointment, I was like, "Well, I keep draining them like I always do. I got this stuff out like I always do, but it just kept getting worse and worse, and I've been cleaning my hands, and I don't know what to do." And he's like, "You're not supposed to pop them." I was like, "Well, they were ready to pop." He's like, "No, no, no. Your skin naturally, your body naturally, like, the reason acne happens, the reason there's a little mountain on your face is because your skin is taking care of it on its own, and it will go away on its own." To me, I was, for me, I was literally taught that, you get rid of it by releasing the stuff from inside. I thought, like, that seemed like what you were supposed to do. So as habitually as I went to the bathroom when I needed to relieve myself, I would search for things on my face that needed relief, and I thought that I was doing my skin a favor. Not necessarily, like, I knew, like, I shouldn't mess with them as much, but I didn't realize that my body will take care of it. For me, that never computed. That never computed it would go away on its own. That for whatever reason, and maybe it was told to me, I don't know, but literally your skin takes care of itself. So I had to have this moment of, why do I face pick? One, ADHD, fidgeting. That's actually, I think in my last episode, I got into cubing because I cube. Hold on, I'm gonna grab this right here off camera really quick. And it's gotten to the point where I now have, if you're on YouTube, you're gonna see this. It's a 12-sided, Cooper, chill. It's a 12-sided 5-layer puzzle. I can fidget with my hands now. I do much better at fidgeting. Oh no, don't do that. Oh, well, that fell. Okay, sorry, something fell. It's fine. I'm fine. Everything is fine. Everything's under control. But I had to ask myself why I did it. And I had to, like, literally get into, like, why do I do that? Why? And I had to get into, like, well, when I was a kid, here's what was communicated to me. Oh, I didn't know about this healthcare thing. And then I was talking to my friends about it. I'm a gamer, and so I was talking to some gaming friends about it. And my friend was like, "Oh, retinol serum." I was like, "What even is that?" And that's when retinol came into my life. And it has been a faithful partner for me. And I mean, my skin isn't great. Like, it's not great. Like, it's not. I'm still trying to kick that habit, but I mean, that habit was 27 years in the making. I guess minus the years I wasn't, you know, the pre-acne phase of life, you know. So you have to ask yourself why you do something, and when you learn new information, let it be the right information. Let yourself take information and be open to it being right information. Because all my life, I literally, and it should have been common knowledge. Like, I know face picking was bad for whatever reason. I thought that, oh, if it's ready, you should pop it because your skin needs you to. I literally thought that. That it's not that's I feel like it's common knowledge to know not to do that. But for whatever reason, at 27 years old, I it didn't solidify. And so I guess, like, whatever habit you have, is it causing harm? Is it good? Just self-reflect on it. Like, if you're not swearing, why? Is it because you want to maintain a respectability? Fine. Is it because you're afraid of what people will think about you? Maybe reevaluate. That's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? I guess I didn't need to get too sidetracked into that entire story, but I feel like it's important to like go into why. What fuels those habits? Why do you have the habits you have? What is fueling those habits? And is there truth inside the fuel? Like if you're not swearing because you're afraid of being judged, do you feel like you're doing it to respect the people around you, or do you feel like you're afraid you'll lose friends if you swear? Because I'm telling you what, if you're afraid you're going to lose friends because you use some swear words, those friends care more about what's on the outside than what's on the inside, and they are not friends you should be hanging around. I'm telling you that right now. So I'm not saying that you should start swearing. What I'm saying is if you don't, and maybe if you do, here's another one. If you are a swearer and you swear a lot and you keep getting feedback that maybe it's a bit excessive, maybe ask yourself why you swear excessively. Is it to show people what you're capable of, what you can do? Or is it because you want to make sure that you're not taking yourself too seriously? Make sure you know the why behind that too. I guess that's all I'm really wanting to say. There's a time and a place for it. Whatever habit you have, whether quote unquote good or bad, whether it's to be respectful, being afraid of judgment, whether it's to show people, whether it's to put people down, you never know. You never know. Just sit with yourself and maybe reflect on it for a second and see if there's anything that maybe you need to reevaluate, maybe you need to change, maybe you need to learn and solidify yourself in, you know? We learn new things all the time. In fact, I actually learned a really good lesson this last week. I had reached out to a friend from my past who I thought I had hurt them, and this whole time I had like thought I'd hurt them. And so I'd kind of got into this like self-blame cycle and kind of like devalued myself for years over this, right? And I thought that they would never talk to me again. And I reached out to them, and for whatever reason, I was like, there's something that I'd said to them that I was afraid they would like take the wrong way, just due to like the dynamic of our friendship at the time. And it just I didn't think they would hear, and they did hear, and they did respond. They chose to respond, and I made sure they shouldn't feel like they owed me an explanation. And I thought they hated me all this time, and so I asked if they did. And they decided to share with me their perspective on things. And you know what? I realized I had like this moment of realization where why was I beating myself up all those years? For whatever reason, I'd put someone on a pedestal and put myself as beneath them and placed myself in eternal punishment, or in eternal self punishment, for something that I for being an unhealed person. And I'm not still fully healed from all the crap I've gone through, but I try, and I'm working on myself, and I'm bettering myself all the time. And I don't need to be eternally beating myself up for not knowing better. And I don't need to constantly be in a groveling state. I thought that if I ever ran into them again, I'd be like in this groveling position where I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't deserve to be in your presence kind of thing. But I realized this not self-loathing, but the self-punishment or the self-gaslight of everything is on me. It wasn't healthy. And so, on top of encouraging you to self-reflect on habits, I also encourage you to self-reflect on, is there anything in your past or present that is maybe even a little bit holding you back at all? Is there anything that's holding you back from going for your full potential? Anything that's holding you back from sleeping at night? Maybe something that you cringe at, something you wish you could go back and fix, but you just can't. I just encourage you to think on the situation, think on your own perspective, and try and see it with a new set of eyes and see if there's any way you can release yourself from that. I guess this week is about self-reflection, being kind to yourself, and seasoning your language properly. Because sometimes when it comes to past mistakes, sometimes you just gotta say fuck it and move on. And if they still act like anyway, I could go on about that, and I don't need to. I don't feel the need to. But be kind to yourself. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of why you're doing something. Be aware of if there's something that is holding you back, whether it's being afraid of judgment from other people, whether it's devaluing yourself in one way or another, whether it's whatever it is. Make sure that what you do is coming from a place of authenticity. You are valuable. You're not better than anyone, but you are valuable. You are not less than anyone. Nothing that you could do or say could ever change that. Make sure you're coming from a place of integrity, authentic integrity, 100% of the time. Be aware of yourself. Be aware of how your choices affect the people around you. And be aware of your own motivations. What's driving you? Get in there. Get to know it. And become fluent in your own mind. I hope you all have a great week. I hope this was something worth listening to. If not, then, well, sorry, can't give it back. Time is not something that can be repaid, but I do hope you had something to think about this week. Thank you so much for hearing me out. It was so nice sitting and chatting with you, and I hope I see you again next week. Bye.